Okay, we checked all 4 systems, and you were a go on modulation, all 4, and keying was a go.
Roger, you're loud and clear here also. Voice control, Houston, contact net 2.
Voice control.
Roger, Honeysuckle is go. Put him back in conference, please.
Roger.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, this is the Smiling Mammoth and welcome to Kerbal Space Program. Decided to start something new, give you a break from Minecraft. This is a game I've been playing a while now. It's a lot of fun. I found it through a video that Kurt J. Mack made a while ago. He's been doing a not a playthrough, but a let's play of it. And I bought it because of him, and I've been having immense enjoyment with it ever since. Basically, the idea is you are the commander or god or whatever of these little green people called the Kerbals, who have just developed their first space program, and your aim is to try and get them out into space, build their rockets, make space planes, fly them to other planets, make rovers, do all kinds of things. So I thought we'd have a go at that. I thought that might be quite fun. So we're going to start a new game. I've already got a few going, but I thought it'd be cool if, you know, we went from the beginning. It's a sandbox game. There will be a career mode. It's still very much in alpha. It's only in, you see, might be able to see down here, 0.18. That's kind of how in development it is. So, what should we call it? Mammoth's Flying Machines. Why not? Awesome, okay. So, start off, this is kind of the main screen of the Kerbal Space Program. You've got the launch pad, the tracking station, the VAB, and the spaceplane hangar. The VAB and the spaceplane hangar are where you build your rockets and planes. We're going to go for rockets first because although you might think that planes would be easier, they're actually really quite tricky. This is the kind of assembly screen. You've got a parts list on the left. I'm running a few mods like the DEMV rover mod and MechJeb. I'll put some links in the description. This actually has a functional mod API, which is what they're working on with Minecraft, and it does make a very big difference because I'm running old mods like for 0.17 and they're still working perfectly because of the API. So anyway, these are the command pods. So these are what kind of your space rocket is built basically or starts off with. So we'll go with the Mark 1, just a nice simple one. And then you've got all these different parts on the left and different tabs for all the different kinds. So this is propulsion, so this is all the fuel and engines and stuff like that. Control is the stuff that keeps you stable. Structural is kind of what it says on the tin, same with aerodynamic. Utility is pretty much everything else. So you've got stuff like batteries, docking clamps, parachutes, solar panels, all sorts. We're going to start off with something a little bit more... sorry, science. These things are pretty much useless at the moment, but they look cool, and, you know, that's kind of what this game is about. It is very, very daft, but it's immense fun. Going to start off just a nice simple rocket to kind of show you how everything works. So you have your fuel tanks and then your engines. You'll have several different sizes and they all have different functions. Like this is the main engine for this size, and then you have a smaller version for landing and just stuff like that. There's actually 2 rocket sizes. I'll just show you quickly. There's the Rockermax and the FL, I suppose. Yeah, the FL series. You can see there's quite a large size difference. I tend to build stuff with Rockermax because I tend to be building bigger things mainly, but you know. So we'll start off with that. We'll put some stability on it because, you know, that's always useful. Advanced stability is ASAS is basically what it's called. It just keeps your rocket pointing where you want it to. And then we're going to want something just for on the launch pad, and that's about it. That's pretty much the most simple rocket you can get. So what we'll call it, I don't know, just something simple like starter, save it and launch it. Okay, here we are on the launch pad. you'll see we've kind of got a few new things on the screen. Down here is the staging. So, you know, when you have multiple rockets and multiple stages, you don't want them firing all at once, so you have the staging. This is more for kind of indication purposes of what the SAS is doing. This is very important. This is the nav ball. It basically shows you which way you're pointing in relation to the ground, or whichever direction mainly. That's speed. We have the throttle, G-force, altitude, and this is Jeb. He is legend amongst the Kerbal Space Program people. He has an orange jumpsuit because he was in the original. They used to only have 3 Kerbinauts, and then they added more in one of the later updates, but the originals have a little orange vest. He's basically the head of all the astronauts. Anyway, we'll start off. We're going to want to throttle up, so you see just moving up here, and then literally, oh, almost forgot, turn SAS on, so this will just keep us pointing straight, and fire. And away we go. That's as simple as that. That's what I mean by kind of, you know, simplest rocket you can think of. See down here we have liquid fuel. That just gives us an indication of how much is left. This isn't going to be the kind of thing that can get us into orbit. So, oh, yeah, this is kind of an overview of Kerbin, which is the name of the planet. You've got the moon. It actually has 2 moons, the Mun and Minmus, and then there's more planets out that I'll show you in a sec. This is what I love about Jeb, is he's always grinning. I think no matter what happens, he's programmed always to just smile. I have just had a thought in that I forgot to put a parachute on this, which is something I've got out of the habit of because I've been doing unmanned missions a lot. So we're going to kill the power, and we're going to see if I can try and land this thing, which is a lot harder than it sounds, because the way kind of stuff works in Kerbal Space Program is you try something, it goes wrong in a horrendous explosive way, and you just keep trying and trying until you get it right. And when you're trying to do delicate maneuvers, that can be kind of tricky. So landing is not as simple as you might think. I just hope I've left enough fuel in it to kind of work it out. If I had MechJeb on, MechJeb is a mod that basically does everything for you. It will land, it will do orbits, it will do pretty much everything. And it's very handy. I have become somewhat reliant upon it, just because it's very useful, because when I'm just trying to go to the moon a lot, I don't want to be worrying about, you know, having to set up my orbits right and get the trans warp and all this stuff, which I'll show you later on when we start kind of building proper rockets. And I just tend to let MechJeb do it for me. So I'll probably show you once or twice that I can do it on camera, and then just let MechJeb do the work after that. And we're coming in now. I'm just trying to kind of gauge what altitude I need to start firing at, because I don't want to do it too early because we'll run out of fuel. I don't want to do it too late, otherwise we'll be going too fast to stop. So I'm going to aim for 10 kilometers. Hopefully that'll be enough. I've got to absolutely hope we stay straight, because if we don't, we are screwed. Pretty much. So, right, let's start throttling. Speed's reducing nicely. This might actually work. If I do this, I'll be very impressed, because I don't think I've ever actually managed a powered landing on Kerbin. I've always just used parachutes, and it's always just gone horrendously wrong whenever I've tried to do anything else right. Let's keep that open so we can see exactly how much fuel we have left and how fast we're using it. See, I need MechJeb as well, because this is the altitude above the ground, above sea level, which isn't always accurate as to what's above the ground. Okay, I'm coming in. I think the Kerbal Space Center is pretty close, is pretty level with the sea, so you actually get a good representation. This is something I quite like. They added a new abort thing in 0.18, which I quite enjoy testing. I should have put that in with the parachute. Okay, coming in. What, 2.5 kilometers? Bring the speed down. I think we might have enough fuel if we keep going at this rate. maybe. Gonna be close though. So 1500 meters, throttle it up a little more. Okay. Okay, right, need to be very careful with fuel because we're getting very low now. But again, we can't hit the ground too fast. 500 meters, this is going to be close. 300, 200, full throttle. Okay. He'll probably survive from this distance. No, not lag now, not lag. Oh! Is he okay? He's fine. Not the most textbook of landings, but he's still alive, and that's all that matters. Alright, well, I think I'll call that a relative success, and next time I'll remember to put a parachute on. Right, let's head back to the VAB, and we'll actually build something that is kind of orbit capable, which means we're going to be going with, we'll start a new one. We'll go Rockomax this time, because I like Rockomax, because big is always better. Let's stick a chute on, just in case it all goes horribly, horribly wrong, once again. SAS, that's always a staple. If your rocket doesn't have a SAS, then either you are an incredibly good pilot, much better than me, or you are an incredibly reckless pilot. So I'm going to put a good bit of fuel on, and I am going to put MechJeb on, but I'm not going to use it. It's just because I like having the information it provides. And that's my phone. I'm very sorry about that. There we go, it's gone now. Someone else in the house has got it. Okay, so you'll see with this little new thing's popped up called Vessel Info. And this is very handy because it means we get to see stuff like delta V and thrust to weight ratio. We'll touch more on stuff like that later once we start doing bigger flights and stuff. It's not really necessary for orbital things. So that's again a pretty basic rocket, but this time we're going to want stuff like, we're going to start putting staging in. So we're going to use this symmetry tool, which is very handy. So this is going to have four-way symmetry. We're going to put that on, and we're going to use some SRBs just to kind of give us a kick off the launch pad. So, okay, let's see if I've been having problems with this. It doesn't always want to attach. I'm not sure if it's like kind of, there we go, a byproduct of one of my mods or the update or something, but yeah, it just doesn't seem to want to work. But there we go, SRBs are attached and are nice and straight. We're going to add some RCS this time, just because it gives us a little bit extra control when we're not throttled up, and that's always useful to have. So just using these little RCS ports on the rocket. They don't do anything on their own, it's just when we then try and steer, they'll fire to kind of augment the actual turning. So that's then the rocket pretty much. We'll add some fins, just to stop us rolling. I think in the middle should be okay. I've not actually built a rocket in a while that just needs to be orbit capable, so I could be massively overdoing this. Like I've been building a moon base on my kind of main save, and it's, yeah, because I've kind of got a standard rocket design, and I know it's far too big just to get into orbit, or like it's far too, what's the word? It overdoes it too much just get into orbit. Like it's got enough delta V to get to the moon. I'll try and basically delta V. It's kind of the amount of speed you have left that can change. So if I fire this off the launch pad, full throttle, I should get to around 650 meters per second. Then that stage will burn out, and then I'll be able to accelerate up another 2,000 meters per second or so. Again, that's basically how it works. And you need certain amounts, because you need, say, 2,000 meters per second speed to get into orbit. It basically kind of corresponds to stuff like that. So, right, that's the rocket done, so we shall name it Orbiter. Actually, no. I like to go for kind of more imaginative names. There's a guy called Scott Manley who does some amazing Kerbal Space Program videos. I'll link to him. He names all his after after Greek gods and the Greek mythology. Tell you what, we'll go Norse. No one ever goes for Norse mythology, so this shall be. What's the lowdown? A lowdown god in Norse mythology. This episode's taking a very random aside. I'm struggling to think of them now. Tell you what, we'll just go with Odin. Why not? Odin 1. I like to do the 1 just in case they go back and make any changes. And then save and launch. Okay, we're on the launch pad, and you can see here the full crew. This is a bigger capsule, so you get more people in it. These are the 3 originals: Bill, Jeb, and Bob. And I've just noticed I have the staging set up wrong in this, so we're going to do a quick bit of readjusting. So we're going to put so otherwise it would have gone SRBs, then the SRBs would have fallen off, then these and this rocket and the parachute would have all deployed in the same thing, which, let's be honest, isn't the most useful thing to be having. Okay, so then all them will fire, the SRBs will detach when they're empty, and then the parachute will deploy just in case we don't quite make it into orbit. And we're going to pull up MechJeb, get us some orbital information, just so we can kind of see. Yeah, there's a lot of numbers. I don't know what pretty much the bottom half means. The main thing I need are orbital speed, apoapsis, periapsis, and time period. You know, everything else is pretty standard. So again, we're going to actually, we don't need to throttle up all the way. Let's go, because if we're hitting above 150 meters per second in the atmosphere, say up to around 10-15 kilometers, you actually get quite a lot of drag loss, which isn't good. So if we try and keep our speed roughly constant as we're going up, then it should just be a lot more efficient. I should have added nose cones on these to try and improve the aerodynamics a bit. Okay, so over here, the apoapsis is basically the height we'll go if we cut the engines now. So it's the peak of the orbit, basically. And then the periapsis is when you're in orbit, is what the other side is. So if you've got the apoapsis and periapsis in a circular orbit, they'd be the same because there wouldn't be any height change. And there's the SRBs gone, so we're going to need to throttle up so we're not losing speed and detach them. Excellent. That's always actually can be quite a big hurdle, because I've had it in rockets where I've had SRBs and I have just smashed them into the sides. Anyway, you'll see Jeb here is grinning like a lunatic, while the other 2 are absolutely scared out of their pants. And I can't say I blame them. Okay, right. Gonna start something called a gravity turn at around 10 kilometers. Basically, it's very, very inefficient to just just burn up and then burn sideways. That's not very efficient. So what we do is, as we're flying up, we basically turn. So we start getting gravity pulling us down a bit as well, which gives us a bit of extra thrust. Well, not thrust, a bit of extra kind of acceleration. So you'll see we're actually picking up speed quite quickly now, when we're not even on nearly full throttle. The general benchmark is, by the time you reach apoapsis, you should be doing at least 1,000 meters per second. In fact, I'm going to throttle up a bit more just so we get there quicker. If you're not doing that, and I don't know what that was, if you're not doing that, then you have a serious problem, and you need to kind of go back to flight school. However, it looks like we're going to make that. I'm not 100% sure we're going to have enough fuel to get into orbit, but you know, we'll give it a go. Apoapsis is, I'm aiming for 100 kilometers. That's my standard kind of mark. How are we doing? And there's 100, so we're going to kill the power, and we're just going to keep it steady, and we'll fly up to apoapsis. There's a very handy tool in Kerbal Space Program that they added, and it's up here. It's called Time Warp. Basically, because it would take 2 minutes to get up to apoapsis, you don't really want to be sat there waiting for 2 minutes. So I can time warp. I'm still in the atmosphere, so I can only go to 4 times. But basically I can time warp, and it will just make time pass a bit faster. You'll see the physics is kind of going a bit wonky, because There we go. So now there's two kinds of time warp. There's a physics-based one, which is what happens when you're in the atmosphere, which basically just makes everything happen 4 times as quick. And then you've got the actual time warp, which kind of just makes the simulation run on rails faster. It's kind of hard to explain, but we're reaching apoapsis, so we're going to throttle up, full power, and hope that we have enough fuel to get this thing into orbit. I'm not 100% sure we're going to, if I'm honest, but you never know. We're not. Although we're going to come very close. Yeah, no, I see, not quite enough. That's a shame. Another fuel tank might have done it. That's the thing, I'm kind of out of practice with just getting into orbit. But you get the general idea. If we'd have kept burning, then the periapsis would have... Oh, we were so close, we're only 20 kilometres down. The periapsis would appear around here and kind of move out, and then we'd be sat in orbit. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come round... Oh, still throttled up. We'll time warp round, so we can only go up to 50 times. But you'll see we're not actually getting that same judder before because it's running on rails instead of just modelling the physics 4 times as fast, which is what it's now doing. So we're going to deploy our parachute. Oh, well, the parachute will deploy once we get to a certain height. I can't remember what that height is, and I don't want to be time warping during it because there's a very good chance it will just pull the whole ship off. And that's not something that we want to happen, to be honest. I can't even try and throttle this back a bit because we have no fuel. I can give you a quick demo of what the RCS does though. So you'll notice that as I'm steering now, the RCS is kind of adding a bit of thrust to it. If I turn it off, we can still steer, but it's a lot slower. So RCS off, we do just about stop. Just. But, you know, with bigger rockets, it's just easier. Once you've got smaller ones, then you can kind of turn them around quite well just using their own gyroscopic stability. But with a big rocket, I suppose it's empty of fuel, but still weighs what? Still weighing 20 tons. You're not going to be able to steer that just with these 4 little fins. I want to see if I don't know if I risk time physics warping again because I don't want to pull the chute off. We're in the atmosphere though, so we're getting slowed a little. You'll see the apoapsis is coming down because we're getting slowed as the atmosphere thickens. Let's risk it. I reckon around, if we cut it again at about 30, I think that's around the deploy point if I'm remembering correctly. None of my missions in a while have actually returned, like they've all gone to the moon and stayed there. So once again, I'm a little out of practice with stuff to do with re-entry. Something I'm looking forward to, in 0.19 they're actually going to add re-entry heat. So it's not actually going to damage parts or anything, or break your rocket. There it goes, there goes the chute. It's just going to be a visual thing. But you'll see the chute's kind of half deployed. What happens is it deploys like this, which slows us down a lot. And then once we get to around 1,000 meters, I think, or 600 meters above the surface, it'll actually kind of pop out. So now we can physics warp again because the chute's deployed. And this will show you kind of the thing with the discrepancy between what this says the altitude is, and I'll show you. I'll pull up the MechJeb one, surface information. So you'll see here, the altitude true is different to one here. This is what we're reading on here, the ASL. That means above sea level. But here, I think we're basically going to be landing on mountains, and they're quite a bit of a way off sea level. So we're actually got about a kilometre discrepancy. So whereas if you're over the sea, the chute would open at what this says is 600. It'll open on here at 1,600, and that's just something you've... Oh, okay, and there it goes. Opened a lot earlier than I thought. This must be... I'm sure that's opened a lot earlier than it normally would. Maybe because it's heavier. It's actually pulled the bottom of the rocket off because it weighs so much. And we are still going quite quickly. I'm not liking that. I'm not liking that extra speed. And we seem to have stopped. Oh, yeah. That was the rest of the rocket disintegrating on the ground. Yeah, I'm not liking that speed at all. Because, oops, don't want to nudge that. Because if we hit the ground at 20 meters per second, I'm not sure we're actually going to survive. I'm hoping we'll slow down a bit before then. Can I like kind of rock us a bit to try and slow us down? It appears not. Bother. I suppose we can always evacuate if the worst comes to it. Let's get rid of them because they're pretty much useless now. And we'll be hitting the ground. Actually, no, I'm going to keep surface up. So 1 kilometre. We are slowing. That's good. We're slowing. I reckon anything around 15 meters per second, and we'll be fine. There's the impact tolerances to bear in mind because the parts can withstand so much speed. But come on. Okay, actually, I know I can physics warp again. I forgot about that. So once we get to around 100 meters, I'll kill it again. And there's whoa. And here we go, moment of truth. Okay, so 17 meters per second and we're fine. We are a very long way away from home, like pretty much on the other side of the planet. But, you know, we nearly got there. We nearly got into orbit. And that's going to have to be all for today. But I hope you enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to kind of doing the more complicated stuff, I suppose, with all the things. Next time we'll try and go for a satellite, because that's always a good place to start. But yes, that'll be all. Thank you very much for watching, and see you soon.